The advantage that most teams are not recognizing or taking enough are slips. As initiators of action, there are so many opportunities for us to slip and create advantages by reading how the defense is playing the actions. We're going to teach you and your initiators how to read screens better so you can get slips that create advantages before the action even starts. Here on this out of bounds play, you see Draymond is starting to be the initiator of this off-ball screen towards Steph Curry. Now, initiators, we have to recognize when the opportunity to slip is there, on ball, off ball, or during dribble handoffs. And this is the key. If your inside shoulder to the rim is ever open, you are. That is your key to slip. The inside shoulder can become open by a switch, by miscommunication, by overplaying defenses, whatever. But whenever your inside shoulder as an initiator is open to the rim, this is your cue to slip. And as you see Draymond start to set this screen off ball for Steph, you see his inside shoulder become open because Van Vliet plays the high side of Draymond because he's worried about Steph coming off of the screen. Draymond knows inside shoulder open, he slips, which creates the advantage, pulling Jimmy Butler's defender over to him, giving the chest read. Draymond knows that advantage has been created. He maintains it by just finding the next man open, and Butler finishes. This clip shows why everybody involved in your action has to be a threat, because the threat of Steph coming off of this action is what opens up the shoulder read and the slip for Draymond. If this was a non-shooter or somebody that the defense wasn't worried about coming off the screen, Van Vliet would just sit on Draymond's bottom side, covering up his shoulder, and then we would come off the action. And then again, every action needs spacing to let it all work. And just watch Hield here in the corner, loaded, holding gravity, keeping his man out of the paint within arm's distance of Hield, which lets this slip open up to create the action. This action here by Kentucky is a pitch and chase. The guard does a good job after the entry of using pace, getting separation from his man, and that pace creates the small advantage. Now, he begins to come off of this handoff, this chase action, and because of that small advantage, Zero recognizes his man is in trouble and he needs help. So he overplays to the side that the ball handle will be coming off, and you see here, 22's inside shoulder to the rim is open. This triggers us to keep the handoff, play downhill inside pressure points, off of 2 so we can have a controlled finish at the rim. Subscribe so you are notified when our next episodes are coming up as we continue to break down the elements that help your actions work better.
All right, so there's a lot going on here. You see they enter the ball in the middle of the floor, and they have kind of what looks like almost a floppy action here. Well, the receiver of the action does a good job of using a burst to get him a small advantage, to get him to the line of the screen, the line of the action. And because of that, he gets a small advantage here. And you see the little misdirection from the top going away like it could be a DHO, but then he turns around just enough to create the passing angle and delivers the ball. Now, right away, you see a small advantage is immediately built in. And look on the catch. Footwork timed perfect with the catch. Eyes go to the rim. Body sinks down. That gets that small advantage into an even bigger advantage. His man jumps, and now he's able to come right back in to an on-ball screen. Now, as you see on the approach of the on-ball screen, this would be our pre-action, though it's coming off of action. You see the defender of the initiator of the screen starting to play up early. He starts to show. This leaves the inside shoulder open. Open meaning there's not a man between body and rim of the initiator of the screen here. He heads downhill here. You see the off-ball spacing that really allows all this to happen. Look at all the space here in the NCAA tournament. These are great defensive teams that go over all these things, but because of proper spacing, reads, and the pace to allow all these things to show themselves, we get an uncontested dunk.